Hello, and welcome to the Health Data Ethics Podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Owens, and I'm here with my friend and collaborator, Brandon Reese. Brandon, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Jenny. My name is Brandon Reese. I'm a business relationship manager with Purdue University. I've been in that role about 5 years, and I have the opportunity to interact with Jenny at our ongoing annual BRM Connect conference.
Yes. So there's been several years in a row where Brandon and I have connected, had the beginnings of a fantastic conversation, and then found ourselves pulled in opposite directions by the demands of a conference. So I successfully peer pressured him into appearing on the podcast so that we have a chance to share his wonderful content from last year's BRM Connect, and also so that I can ask him a bunch of questions that I wouldn't have gotten the chance to if I were in the audience. Brandon is continuing his series with us on his wonderful talk on being your most honest self from BRM Connect in 2024. Today, in our last segment, we're going to talk about telling. And Brandon, you really had kind of three highlights in this section for me. One of them was about role clarity, and I feel like we could talk for 45 minutes on role clarity, but do you mind hitting just a couple of highlights for me?
Absolutely. I still struggle with role clarity in the BRM role, and I know I'm not alone here. It is something that when I coach other teams, they either ask that question directly or they're asking that question without knowing they're asking that question. As a BRM, telling your story is pretty much the most impactful currency that we have. I don't bring in grants. I don't generate revenue. I am an expense line. And I'm reminded of that sometimes. So what we can do is tell people what we do, but more importantly, tell them why what we do matters. One of the things that helps with role clarity is to have a mission statement. Now, you may not control your department's mission statement. You might not even have a BRM job title. You may just be doing the work, and you may not be able to create a mission statement that applies to an entire team. It may just be for you. With me, what Purdue BRM says our mission statement is to bring the full potential of the technology investment directly to Purdue College of Agriculture faculty. Whatever I do needs to be visible through that lens. It needs to be technology related, and I need to be bringing value to my business partners, in this case, College of Ag faculty. All that to say, and I'm going to quote one of my very favorite movies here, Office Space. If you can remember the scene with the two efficiency consultants, they sit down and they say, "What would you say you do here?" As a BRM, never let that question catch you off guard. Like that is, be ready with that 7 seconds, like I gave with the full potential. Let that turn into 70 seconds and then 7 minutes. So be ready to tell your story up, back, left, right. Tell them why what you do matters. So I have given talks at previous Connect conferences on developing impact statements. These are 1 to 2 page, generally physically printed documents that look at a concrete, specific project, time, example, whatever it might be, that talks about whatever the issue was and what the effort was to solve it. And a lot of times in IT, they stop there. Like, well, project complete, ticket closed. Okay. As a BRM, we need to take that third and arguably most important step and talk about why it matters. So what's the so what? If I enabled faculty or a technology partner to do X or Y or Z and they saved an hour, great. I can talk about saving researcher time. That's the so what. So this will obviously depend greatly on what your role is and who your business partners are and how you interact with them. But take the time to make these look good and sound good. So when we do them, we print pictures. I've mentioned in previous episodes that I find myself standing in cornfields in July in Indiana. But other things too, laboratories, classrooms, conferences, just interactions on campus. Take pictures if you can. Get quotes from your business partner. This is something that's really powerful. If a project is completed, you had a hand in it as the BRM, and you can say, hey, would you be willing to give me a 1 sentence why this helped you do whatever it is we're talking about? Generally speaking, the answer is, oh, absolutely. What you need to make sure these are doing is hitting the audience that they're intended for correctly. And in previous episodes, we talked about learning to communicate with people the way they need to be communicated with, their analytical types or conceptual types. Yeah. Write these impact statements for your audience with the understanding that the most powerful story isn't the one you tell necessarily. It's the one that is told about your efforts when you're not even in the room. Mm-hmm. So we have hand delivered these impact statements in the past to department heads and faculty and deans and found them in other offices later, or had someone say, hey, I picked up this piece of paper and your face was on it. And I read about this one project. That was really cool. Tell me more. So they serve not only to tell your story in a meaningful and impactful way, but they serve as relationship building blocks. And that is one way that you can tell them why what you do matters.
That is amazing. And I want to dive in on that a little bit. You stole my point 3, which was talking about the so what. But dig in on the impact statement. Craft for me, what are the important bullet points that you need to include? So if I'm thinking about how do I highlight my effort on a project where I have no subject knowledge expertise, right? I have no technical expertise. I'm not the one crawling around plugging in server cables, right? So how do I tell my story?
So that's a really good example. I can think of one that we did where we created a mobile trailer with a bunch of moisture and humidity sensors on it with wireless cell phone based communication to deploy in a cornfield that didn't have cell phone service or Wi-Fi. Like it's middle of Indiana. And the BRM team was instrumental in getting the thing created. And it was a big help to the researcher, all that. We deployed it, and 24 hours later, a flood washed the thing away. So how we reacted to the situation was really the story and the second impact statement. So like you said, I didn't crawl around and unplug it. I didn't drive down there with a truck and pull it out of the mud and figure out what was scrapped and what wasn't. Because who'd have thought we need to make the thing float? But what you can do in that example is never be afraid to celebrate their success. I know we talked about an earlier example, an earlier episode that a win for me is a win for them. So if you have also incorporated that experiential learning and you really understand what a win looks like for your business partner, even if you don't necessarily understand their entire job, you know how they win, you're able to more succinctly articulate, this was the issue and this is why it required effort. You know, maybe it was a new project that was mandated. Maybe it was a reduction in duplication of effort. Maybe you're moving the needle, however you're moving the needle. But don't be afraid to toot your own horn here. Being a Midwesterner and being an ag, like saying, hey, look at me, I did this thing is not exactly part of our lexicon, but going through the steps of what was the issue in a way that people that might read this will understand, like, yeah, this is an important problem. We needed to fix this. How did you do it? Well, the BRM, facilitated this connection between this team and that team. And this team, here's a picture of that team. Here's why they're great, all that stuff. They did this. And the so what, and I think the so what is really where the BRM can come in. Mm-hmm. By being here, I was able to help create this efficiency, solve this problem, whatever it might be, by pairing these two people together with the sort of implied understanding, because I know enough about all of this to make those connections happen. Does that make sense? I could talk about impact statements and have for hours and hours and hours. If you'd like to know more, then by all means reach out, and I have a whole talk on it.
Yeah. So we'll link you on LinkedIn when we post this up on LinkedIn. So my hope is that everybody comes to you with all of these amazing questions, because this content has been just incredible, Brandon. It's been such a pleasure to talk with you and to walk through this content and this knowledge that you've got. So thank you. Thank you for sharing your expertise with me. I really, truly appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me again.
So this is going to conclude our series. Brandon, please come back. I would love to talk with you about many other things. Thank you again for appearing on the podcast.
Of course. Until next time.